How I would start over to make 10 grand a month again if I was a beginner and I had no idea what I was doing. I want to sit down and share with you guys my actual story of kind of how I got started because I was in a position where I was making nothing, peanuts, working at Bed Bath & Beyond. I was making $12 an hour. And now I'm fortunate to live in my dream apartment out here in Miami. I don't have to worry about my rent. I don't have to worry about any of my bills. I don't look at the tab when I order food. And I'm honestly very grateful and blessed to be in the position I'm in. And I just want to share with you guys some of the insights I learned along the way, some things that I only picked up in the last like years of my career, and things that I would definitely change if I had to go back and really, speed up the process when it comes to getting to that 10K a month level. When I first started, like I said, I was in Bed Bath & Beyond. And as you guys probably know, they're currently bankrupt. I don't even know if they're a company anymore. And I was making $12 an hour as a sales associate. And the first shift that I had, it was a 3-hour shift. I remember they put me on the floor with someone else who I was supposed to shadow, and I didn't even shadow them. They basically just said, here, make sure everything is organized, looks good. If a customer comes up to you, tell them where the stuff is. If you don't know, radio us in. And looking back, I remember that for that first 3-hour shift, I simply thought to myself, this is the most boring thing ever. There's no way that I'm going to be able to do this for the rest of my life. After that first 3-hour shift, I go home and I do what probably every single person, every single one of you guys watching has probably done. You look up how to get rich online fast as a teen, right? I knew that I couldn't go the normal 9 to 5 route. It sounds cliche, but there's no way I could do it. And I come across a video of this guy making like $2,000 in 3 seconds just from penny stock trading. I didn't even know what I was looking at, but I saw like some candlesticks, some things go up, and he would buy and then immediately sell like in a minute or 2 minutes, and he made like 2 grand. And after I saw that video, it was completely life changing because I would work an hour just to make $12. And this guy would take 3 seconds on his little computer, typing around, making thousands of dollars. He's doing this every day. And so that kind of started my initial journey. So I went online, I watched a lot more videos on YouTube about day trading, about things like that, and eventually got to a point where I decided to fund my own account. Now, I was 16 at the time, and I simply can't fund an account unless you have a custodial account. And so what I had to do was simply just study. I didn't even end up trading the first year and a half I got into it. I watched a bunch of YouTube videos. I tried everything I could, but I didn't want to bother my parents with finding a custodial account, worrying about that, dealing with all of that. So I just kept studying, learning about investing, things like that. I turned 18. I'm finally able to get a broker, and I learned about the PDT rule. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, PDT rule basically means you can't day trade more than 3 times in a week unless you have 25 grand in your account. Now, me in high school, I only had like $2,000. I'm like, there's no way this is going to work. But then I learned about something called an offshore broker. And so I signed up with this offshore broker based in Trinidad and Tobago, and I needed to wire them money. And so, I'm like, cool, let me go to my bank, let me then wire the money. I had a local bank at the time, local branch, and with the local bank, the only way to wire money, you have to go to the bank physically and wire it yourself. Because my bank was still like connected to my parents and all this was a mess, I didn't know what I was doing. I finally decided to ask my parents to go ahead and do that. After a lot of consideration, a lot of negotiation, my mom finally said yes. And from that point, which I don't know why she said yes, to be honest. If you think about it, if you're a parent, if you're a kid, whatever, and they come up to you and say, hey, I want to wire $1,000 to this foreign capital brokerage, they're going to think you're crazy. And honestly, I can't really blame them. But at the end of the day, we got it through. I was finally ready to trade with $1,000. And I ended up losing it all in 3 days. Just like that, clean. It was like 3 trades. And right from that moment, I knew I was like, okay, I just made a few mistakes. Like, it sucks that it's 1,000, but I see the potential in this. I know that I can get this to work. I know I can really make this a thing and make this my income. And so that eventually started the next step, which was getting more money and funding another account. So I told my parents, I told my mom, and she obviously wasn't happy, but she's like, you know what, it's your money, do whatever you want, I don't really care. Um, so I kept my bankroll going. I learned, watched more YouTube videos, studied more, and then I funded my next account. And I tried a few funded accounts, and these were actually funded accounts before they were a thing. They were like $500 trading packages. I don't want to say the company. I think they're a complete scam, but I'm not gonna draw them out here. But I tried these funded accounts, didn't really get them to work, but it taught me risk management, taught me how to trade a little bit better. Moved into large caps before I was trading penny stocks, and that started the journey of me trading. And so that went on for about 2.5 years throughout college as well. Once I graduated and went to college, um, so that was 2.5 years. I lost about $15,000 in that process. And after I left Bed Bath and Beyond, I got a few other jobs, and eventually went to DoorDash. And DoorDash, doing delivery, food delivery. Looking back at the stats now, I have over 1,500 deliveries. It's kind of crazy to look at. But I did tons of deliveries just to get money, just so I could finally trade. Kept trying a bunch of accounts, follow more people on Twitter, started posting my basically used Twitter as my journal. I'd post a lot on there. And after about 2.5 years, I basically hit a rock bottom moment. I was like, I couldn't really DoorDash anymore. My car was breaking. I was, I couldn't find a job on my college campus. I was blown up my last account. I literally had $300 to my name. I did not have anything left, and I simply didn't know what to do. And that was really the moment where I said to myself, I'm probably going to give up trading. I tried other things along the way. I tried drop shipping, e-commerce, Amazon FBA, basically any side hustle or whatever you want to call it. I've tried all of them, literally all of them. I have real estate wholesaling, like Amazon, like I said. I tried drop shipping stuff on eBay, Walmart, millions of things, anything you can think of. And it eventually just kept coming back to me that was like, I was just so close. I'm like, all of my blown up accounts have come from risk management. It's come from, one or two trades where I just didn't get out my stop and I lost a lot more than I wanted to. And so because of that, I said, you know what, let me just work. Let me figure out how to make some money. Let me just get this working. And around the same time, X or Twitter was still a lot smaller than it is now. But the community for trading was still really good. It was really nice. And I met a lot of cool people on there. And I was very fortunate to have met someone who could become my mentor for free. And I remember he's not big on anywhere. He doesn't like mentor anyone else. But we ended up talking. I got to know this guy who's in the military. He traded options. He owns his own business now. And he was like, yeah, man, I see you're working. I see you're trying to get this really hard. Let me just help you out. And so that was a very fortunate event for me. Now, what he ended up teaching me was actually not really anything about trading. It was really not anything about, the strategy that I use today. One of the biggest things he's taught me was that I was stubborn. And, I didn't know it at the time. Looking back, it's a little bit easier to tell. But I remember he would be telling me these things about like, oh, you should get in Roku short here. You should be doing this. And I kept asking back. I'm like, well, what about this? Well, I kind of want to try this. And I remember it was a very life-changing moment because he just looked at me. We were on a call and he was like, why are you so stubborn? Like, just do what I say. Like, why do you have to do this? And I realized I'm like, wow, this is kind of the battle that I have with my own self when it comes to trading, right? I am like doing this day by day and I am simply not even following my own strategy. I don't even have a strategy. I'm not even getting in tune with my emotions. And so that was a huge first step when it comes to becoming a better trader and actually starting to make money from this. And so eventually after that, I started to take the next year and I really settled down and I said, the biggest thing for me, obviously is risk management, obviously psychology. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to having a strategy, right? I don't have a plan. I don't know where to enter. I don't know where to exit. I was guessing and strategy hopping every single month. I would always blame the strategy instead of blaming myself. And that led to so many losses in so many places. But that's the trading journey. That's what's going to happen in your trading career. And that's normal. You need to go through a period of losses. You need to go through that phase to realize that At the end of the day, it's you. You need to have a strategy that works. You need to use it with proper psychology and proper risk management. And so it got to a point where I spent a year, and that's also the same time I found supply and demand, which is kind of the basis of how I trade now. And when I got supply and demand to work, a few months in, it stopped working again, right? I finally found the strategy. It's working, and it still doesn't work. I end up losing more money. It goes back to square one, and I'm running out of ideas of what to do. And so that's when I start to really implement and learn other things like market structure, balance theory, some of the things that I trade today. I spend another 6 months back testing everything, combining everything, testing what works, what doesn't, trying moving averages, indicators, millions of things, everything you can think of, order flow, market profile, scalping, level 2, tape reading, everything you can think of. I eventually landed on something that works the best for me, right? And because of that, I got to a point where I found something that works for me and started working, started making money. I was able to grow my account consistently. I got it over PDT, and I just started making consistent money. And I was very fortunate because when I got into college, my goal was to become a full-time trader out of it. So I wouldn't need a 9 to 5. I wouldn't need a normal job. And it's funny how everything kind of lined up to that happening towards the end. It wasn't the smartest thing for me to kind of really dive into it full time right away. When I graduated college, I did have consistent profits for a while, but I wasn't really at the stage where I thought, okay, I just thought it'd be smarter to have more of a stable income before I got there. Because as you probably know, trading is not like stable. It's not really consistent. It can be consistent profits, but it's never 10K a month, 10K a month, 10K a month. Sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. And that journey of back and forth made it a little bit tough in the beginning. But the biggest thing really keeping me going was that I knew I had an edge at the point, right? I knew I had an edge. I knew if I stuck to my strategy, I would make money. And I just kept on doing that, So every loss I had, instead of just getting down about it, getting sad, being like, oh my God, is this going to work? I was like, nope, that's another loss. Losses happen. Moving on to the next day. And that kind of emotional detachment from trading itself is really the biggest kicker. That's one of the biggest things that actually set me apart and made me become successful with it. And then that brought me to the past year where I can say it's probably been one of the best years of my life. It is the best year of my life. I traveled to multiple countries. I met a lot of people. I had my best trading year ever. And I am on track to, do what I've always wanted to do, which is trade myself. And backtracking a little bit, by the way, when I was a full-time trader for around a year and a half or so, and that was solely what I was doing. I mean, it still is solely what I'm doing, but back when that was kind of my main focus, I honestly hit a period of depression. And a lot of people don't talk about this, but I want to come here and be honest with you guys, because trading, yes, you can unlock a lot of money. You can do a lot of cool things with that. But trading is one of the only jobs in the world where you are not providing value to anyone else. Even if you're working at McDonald's, if you're working at Starbucks, you're still helping someone. You're still doing something for someone, right? Even if you're working at some payroll company and you're like a mid-level executive or whatever, and you don't think your job really matters because you're doing payroll for other businesses, and it's like, who really cares? You're doing something. You're providing value. You're helping someone out. You're making an impact in some other person's life. Trading is the one thing where you're not, right? I would simply trade, make my money. I wouldn't talk to anyone else. I wouldn't do anything else. And it was very unfulfilling. It got to a point where it was like, I would trade and I'd be like, what am I doing? It's like, cool, I made a few $100. Cool, I lost a few $100. Now what? I don't talk to anyone. I'm not helping anyone else. And to live an entire life where you're not doing anything for the world is really it just lacks a lot of purpose, lacks a lot of fulfillment. And so that's when I decided to actually start mentoring and teaching people. And that combined with the fact that I started to grow on Twitter just from posting my trades and posting my journal. And then other people started asking me to mentor them. And that really changed a lot of things for me, because when I started mentoring and teaching people, I could actually make an impact in people's lives. And that was one of the better things that really started to do, and I started to focus on that. And that's been one of the best things for me lately, is just helping people, seeing other people grow, and focusing on my own trading as well. Now, one of the things that a lot of people think of, because I recently did a small account, where I turned $900 into $9 grand in 3 weeks. And that was by far one of the best small accounts I've done. I 10x the account in 3 weeks. That is not something that is, I do every week or every month. That is that is very good trading. Now, I used to think the same thing as well. It's like, Jordan, why don't you just keep it going? Why don't you turn $9 grand into 100 grand, and then 100 grand into 1 million, and then 10 million, and then 1 billion? It's like, why do you just keep compounding and compounding and compounding until you hit better than Jeff Bezos money? You know what I mean? And I realized once I got to this point, because earlier this year, I really wanted to scale my trading. So I started to size up pretty heavily and really start to scale. And I reached a point where my emotions really, really affected me, because I was trading with a lot more money. I was trading with more money than I should have, and I was very emotionally attached. I started losing money. I remember I actually had a first losing month. And I haven't had a losing month in a while. I've had a lot of losing weeks. That's very common. But a losing month was rare. And I had that earlier this year. And I was like, that was when I sized up the most. And so I sized back down, stayed consistent, got very disciplined, and was able to turn things around. But it kind of realized, trading is not easy no matter what. Even when you find a strategy that works, even when you are in tune with your emotions, you get disciplined, there's always hurdles along the way that make it harder to scale and harder to make more money. And that's the honest truth a lot of people don't say, because you do see a lot of people, myself included, who say they're consistently profitable, say they're making money. And it's like, well, if that's the case, then why don't you just scale until you're making $100 million every month or 10 million every month? And there are a few people who are at that stage, but I've been trading 6 years, right? And, with the amount of money I've made, me risking $5,000 to $10,000 a trade is still emotionally attached to me. If I lose $10,000 right now, that is a lot of money. To just lose on one trade, to lose in 3 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it is. And yes, I know I have an edge, and yes, I know that I'm confident in my trading abilities, but the emotions are still there. And so that's when I came across this, idea that I need to really slowly scale and think about this in a much longer term, right? I'm very young, and, I obviously want to make more money, but the more money I make now doesn't change my life, right? I already can pay for anything I want. I rarely look at, I rarely make a decision that's based on finances nowadays. It's kind of like, if I want something, I can get it. I'm very fortunate to be in that position, but there's no rush for me to get to a point where I'm making 6 figures every month or 7 figures every month, right? That's not really going to change my life that much. And so why go through the stress of trying to force that in the next few years when I can take this over a 10, 20, 30-year time period? And, eventually compound like that, because it's a little bit safer, it's easier, and I know I can get there with time. Whereas with, when it comes to just trying to scale to the moon in the next few months or few years, there's really no need for that. And so that's what I've recently came across in my journey. And going back, if I had to start over, what I would relearn is the biggest thing is that you kind of need to go through things to learn them on your own, right? Now, that being said, what I would have done is learn myself first. That's the most important thing, right? If I want to make 10K a month very quickly, I would have learned myself first. And what I mean by that is, are you more of a day trader? Are you more of a swing trader? You should determine that right now after watching this video. And if you realize that you're more of a day trader, don't ever take another swing trade for the rest of your life. If you know yourself and you know that you are more quicker with your trading, or you don't like being patient, obviously that's a skill you can work on, but you ultimately want to stick to what's best for you. So that's the first thing I would do, is learn yourself. Learning that I was stubborn was a massive, massive advantage for me to be like, hey, I need to really tune in with myself and not be stubborn. And that's what really helped me grow. The next thing I would do is learn from someone else. And you know, it's kind of contradicting to what I did because, like I said, I spent over a year back testing and figuring out what works, what doesn't, coming up with my own strategies. And nowadays, you can do it a lot quicker and a lot faster than I did. I spent a long time doing that, but I wanted to be very sufficient with my strategy and what I knew worked. And I'm not saying you should go and join a Discord or a mentorship or course, but I'm saying you should take the time to at least identify if what you're trading actually works or not. Because if you're just going out and buying an opening range breakout because you saw someone else do it, where's the statistics behind that? Where's your entry criteria? Where's your exit criteria? You have to ask yourself these questions and really figure out, is what am I trading even working? Because I go back to the casino analogy all the time, but it's the truth, right? If you're the owner of a casino, you're not stressed. It doesn't matter if somebody comes in, wins the $1 million jackpot. You're not going to get stressed because in the next few months, next year, next day, depending on the casino, you're going to make it back, right? Because you have an edge. And that's kind of how I looked at it with trading is, do I have an edge? If the answer is no, then I should immediately stop trading, get an edge, and then only trade that edge. Because anything that isn't trading with an edge is simply gambling. It's simply going to lose money. And like I said, for some of you guys, you can be listening to me, you can hear that, understand that, and you're still going to go and do it, and that's fine. That's me being stubborn, right? That's what I did. And I lost a lot of money until I realized it. So I think in terms of journey, anybody can get there. I really do think anyone can become a trader. I think a lot of people, it takes longer than what they think it will take, which is what it took for me. I thought I'd do it in a year. It took me about 3 years to get consistent and like 4.5 to get full time, or more like 4 to get full time. But if you're able to stick with it, you don't give up, I don't see how you can really lose if you focus on that. If you focus on having an edge, if you focus on having risk management, if you focus on getting in tune with yourself, getting disciplined, having good psychology, that is ultimately going to get you to a place where you can make 10K a month consistently. If I could honestly leave you guys with some last advice, it would simply be this. Be more patient, right? I like the phrase to say, the more patient you are, the quicker you'll get things done. And it's contradictory, but it's true. The more you think about trading long term, and if you do that, then you're going to see consistent results a lot quicker. If you're trying to get rich quick, it's only going to delay the process. And everyone out here is trying to get rich quick. And it's not going to happen. If it was easy for everyone to get rich, then everybody would be doing it. And a lot of people are trading, but 90% are losing. I think that number is actually probably higher. I would say like 95. But really, if you want to just stay patient and be disciplined in your trading, you can make it work. You can make it happen. I know I've done it for myself. Use me as proof. Some of my students have been able to go full time, which is an absolutely incredible feeling to have. I've talked to a lot of people in my DMs on Twitter who have done that. And I've also learned a lot of terrible stories. I know this one guy who ended up taking a loan to trade with, took out $200,000. I have no idea where he would even find a loan of that much to trade with. But he ended up losing it all, had to file for bankruptcy. It was a whole mess. I know someone else who was unfortunately in my DMs, lost thousands of dollars. Now his partner is wants to leave him because she doesn't trust him. And it's things like this where trading can be a very, very dangerous thing if you're not doing it properly. And I think you all need to go with the lesson that if you take the long road and take patience about it, you're not going to try and get rich quick. You're not going to blow up your account. You're not going to get yourself into those positions. I am so fortunate to have started trading when I didn't have a lot of money. Because if I am in the position where I'm in now and I just learned about trading, I would have lost my entire freaking everything I've had. I would have had to move out of this apartment. I would have had to sell stuff. It would have been awful because I know myself. I know that, I was stubborn, and I know that I would have blown up a bunch of accounts. And, it is kind of crazy how some people start. And when you do start and you have hundreds of thousands or lots and lots of money to just throw in, you can lose a lot of it or all of it very, very quickly. And so I just urge that you very, very much focus on risk management. It's so, so key. and get in tune with your emotions as well. Get a psychology coach, get a therapist, do what you got to do. Your mind is most important. Mind is the most important part when it comes to trading. If you're not taking care of that, you're essentially telling yourself you're going to lose a lot more money. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. It was a little bit all over the place. It was a little bit long. If you guys like me for whatever reason, hit the subscribe button down below. Feel free to follow me on Twitter as well. I like to post a lot. It's my main stuff. YouTube's also cool. I'm about to go a lot harder with YouTube. I'm going all in on YouTube as well. So make sure you subscribe if you want. And if you don't want to, I don't really care. Do whatever you want. Leave a like. Comment below if this is similar to... Actually, no. Comment below where you are in your journey. I want to know where you guys are. Are you guys in that 1 year stage? Are you in 5 years? Are you profitable? Are you not profitable? What issues are you seeing now? Because I can use these to make future videos. And also let me know if you like this style more than the other style. This is kind of the first video I've done where it's like this kind of style, where it's just me talking. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.